right, so I have got my pink Alani Nu in hand, and I want to open today by confessing a lie that I believed for way too long. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm talking years. I'm actually talking decades, okay? And I never would have said this out loud in these words, but looking back, it was the whole engine underneath how I led. And the lie was this: if I just work hard enough, if I just work long enough, I can hold it all together, all by myself. That was my entire operating system. And it showed up in all the obvious ways. I was up earlier in the morning. I went to bed much later at night. I was answering the emails at 11 p.m. at night like it made me some kind of hero. I was a little prideful when it came to me being the one who seemed to outwork everyone in the room. Because somewhere deep down, I had decided that if I had carried enough weight and if I carried it hard enough and long enough, then nothing would ever be allowed to fall. And here's the tricky part on that: the part that keeps us all stuck in it, because for a good while, it seemed like everything was actually working. Okay. And that was exactly the trap. It looked like it was working right up until the moment that it stopped working. And then you hit a wall, right? The hustle always walks you into that wall eventually. It just does. It's a matter of a fact. And it's that kind of specific tired that a good night's sleep can't even touch. It's the resentment that starts creeping into the work that you used to genuinely love. And it's that strange, awful math where you're busier than you ever have been in your life, but you're emptier than you've ever been at the same time. And what I finally had to face is that I had said yes to a real calling, and it was a great one, okay? One I actually believed in, and I knew God called me to it. But then I was slowly setting fire to that very calling with my own hands, all in the name of being faithful to it. And I bet that some of you are living in that exact tension right now. So today's episode is for you. This is the last stop in our little three-part arc that we've been going through for the last couple weeks. We talked about whether you're even called, and then about leading with confidence while you're still shaken. And then today we get to the piece that keeps the whole thing alive, which is learning how to lead out of rest instead of out of hustle. Because a calling you burn yourself out of isn't somehow more holy, it's just gone. So let's fix this, okay? Let's go. Well, hey, welcome back to Leadership Clearly. I'm Julie Wagner, and this is the show where we clear the noise so you can lead from your real voice with clarity, conviction, and with Christ at the center of it all. Now, I've talked about rest on the show before, and if that episode helped you, this is the leadership specific sequel. And I'm coming in a little hotter this time because there's one thing I really do not want to do today. I do not want to hand you rest so that you can just turn around and go hustle harder on Monday. Because that's just hustle culture with that whole self-care so I can grind more efficiently thing. Honestly, let's just leave that behind, okay? Let's just put that behind us. What I actually want to talk about is something a lot deeper than that. And it's the difference between leading from rest and leading for rest. Because those two are completely different postures. And one of them is quietly wrecking you while the other one can hold you for the long haul. So here is where we're headed together. First, we're going to expose the lie of hustle for what it really is, okay? And count what it's actually costing you and everyone who's watching you lead. Then we'll get into the one-word difference: for rest versus from rest. Because that changes everything. And then, of course, we're going to go into scripture because God literally built rest into the fabric of creation and then spent a whole Bible gently reminding his people to trust him enough to actually take the rest. And then, of course, we're going to get practical, real, doable ways to make the shift because I refuse to leave you inspired and guilty. And then your one thing for the week. So grab your drink and let's bring this whole thing home. Now, before I dive into our first part of this conversation, I want to tell you a little funny story. I am actually putting from my kitchen today, with my pup sitting in her bed at my feet. And the reason is my podcast studio slash office is getting a makeover. I decided to sell my big clunky corner desk and just make my office more aesthetically pleasing. And here's why. In 2 weeks, 2 weeks, I am officially going to be offering video of my podcast. So of course we're still going to have this on Apple and Spotify and any of the other streaming platforms that you're listening to this on. But I'm so excited. We're going to be launching on YouTube. And I think if I'm correct, I'm also looking at Apple and Spotify too. I'm just waiting to see what I need to do to get on there for that. So, yeah, I'm really excited. And then on top of that, next week I have my very first guest joining us. And then the following week, which is our video launch week, I have another guest joining us. So, we would have had the guest for next week. Her name is Hannah. Would have had her on video. She and we had this great conversation. Our video was looking great. And the platform that I had recorded it on did not save the video. So, needless to say, I was not happy about that. And I looked and I was like, okay, I'm going to admit user error here, right? Like, I'm pretty tech savvy for the most part. Sometimes I just don't get it. I had to like dig down and bury into like the bottom of the settings for it to actually save the recording. And I'm like, who even thinks about that? Like that's not a normal thought process. So, I promise I'm not complaining, but I am. So that is why next week is not video, but I'm just gosh, guys, I'm just so excited about the trajectory of this podcast. So, we'll talk more about that at the end, but let's go ahead and dive in. So, we're going to talk about the lie of hustle. And I know you've probably heard 10,000 other podcasts about hustle culture and how it's just really not good for you at the end of the day, okay? It just isn't. I'm sure that there are plenty of other podcasters out there, sales leaders out there that are like hustle hustle hustle, that's the only way you're going to get ahead in life. Today, I just want to talk about the lie of that, okay? So let's name that lie out loud because I think it really is woven into culture so deeply that most of us have stopped noticing it's even there, okay? The lie goes something like this. Okay, hear me out on this. It all depends on me. Me. And if I work hard enough, I can lock in the outcome because more hustle means more results. And the more results means more security, more money, etc., more recognition. That's the gospel of the grind. And I just want to be honest with you here. A whole lot of us, myself very much included, have been more discipled by that gospel than the actual gospel of Jesus Christ. And I say that with a wince because I lived in it for years before I ever caught it. And I will also be very transparent with you. I will still catch myself starting to believe that over the actual gospel of Jesus Christ. And I know that sounds like I'm not being a very good Christian and I don't love Jesus with all my heart and mind. And that's not true, but it's such an easy distraction. It's such an easy idol, right? It's such an easy idol. The hustle culture is an idol. But let's dive a little deeper in here. Here is why hustle culture is the lie. I want to give you two reasons because I think we need both of them. The first one is just practical, and it's this. It's not actually true that more hours make more of the good stuff. Past a certain point, exhausted effort starts making worse work, not better. Worse decisions, worse conversations, worse everything. Because the tired leader isn't the effective leader, they are the reactive one, the snappy one, the foggy one who makes the kind of mistakes that end up costing way more than the hours they thought they were saving by skipping rest. Hustle feels productive. And that's the trap because so much of the time, it's really just motion. And motion and progress are not the same thing, even though they can look identical from the outside. Now, here's the second reason that actually, I'll be honest, it brought me to my knees. So stay with me here, okay? Because this one, I feel it goes deeper than time management. Hustle culture is quietly built on not believing God is who he says he is. And I know that sounds intense, but walk with me on this, okay? Because when I operate like it all depends on me, like the whole thing is going to collapse the moment I stop moving. What I'm actually doing is living as though God isn't real, that God isn't able, or he isn't paying attention, or he isn't holding a single thing in my life. And my frantic overwork stops being evidence of my great faith and starts looking a whole lot more like evidence of my hidden unbelief. I was basically being a functional atheist about my own calling, living like there was nobody up there holding any of it, living like there wasn't a living God next to me, walking alongside with me during this whole journey, right? So I better not blink or it would all come crashing down. And I never once said that out loud. This is actually the first time I've ever said that, but that was the engine underneath everything for me. And I know that I'm not alone in this. So here's what it costs. This is the part that I think should really stop us because hustle doesn't just wear you out, it shapes everyone who's following you because you're a leader. A leader who runs on hustle tends to build a team that runs on hustle right along with her or him, or it builds a team that quietly burns out trying to keep pace, or a team that comes to resent the pace that the leader is quietly modeling, even while everyone calls it dedication and excellence and commitment. Your relationship with rest is contagious, my friends. And if you glorify the grind, you're handing every single person under you that you lead a permission slip to run themselves into the ground too. And you're stamping it with commitment and excellence and dedication. So, honestly, one of the most caring things you might ever do for your team is to show them with your actual life and not just your words that it is possible to work hard and rest well and trust God with the gap in between. Let's talk about the heart of this episode, okay? And let's talk about the beautiful thing that swings on one tiny little word because there is a world of difference between leading for rest and leading from rest. And once you actually see the difference, you genuinely cannot unsee it because it really is going to change how you look at your whole week. So, leading for rest, that's the normal way. That's the default that most people go to. It's the water we've been swimming in this whole time. And it works like this: you work, you push, and you grind, all in order to earn some rest at the end. That vacation, that 2 week vacation, guys, the long weekend, or everybody's working for the weekend. Everybody's working for the weekend. Oh, here's a good one: the Sunday when things finally calm down and rest becomes the finish line that you're forever sprinting towards, but somehow you never get it. You never fully reach it. And the reason you never reach it is because the work never ends. There is no bottom of the to do list ever. It doesn't exist. So, in this model, rest is the reward for striving, which means, and just follow the logic with me on this, okay? You have to earn it, which means until you've produced enough, you don't quite deserve to stop, which means in the end, you never actually stop because it's never quite enough. Do you feel the trap in that? It's like a hamster wheel. It's like you're running towards a finish line that quietly keeps moving back every time you get close. You can see it, but then it moves again. And you can do that for a long time, okay? But you cannot do it forever because it's gonna hollow you out. It's gonna leave you empty. It's gonna leave you unfulfilled. Now, leading from rest is the complete flip of that. And it's the way of Jesus. Because in this model, rest isn't the reward waiting for you at the finish line, it's the ground that you're standing on when you start. And when you lead out of a settled, secured, unhurried place, because your worth and your security are already handled, already given to you, it's not something you're earning by your output. You're not working in order to earn rest. You're working from a place of rest you already have. And the striving is actually over before the day even begins. Because guess what? Jesus already did the finishing part, the crushing part. And now you get to labor out of the workflow of that instead of out of the panic of trying to prove that you're worth the seat at the table. Okay. And oh my gosh, can you feel the difference in your body just hearing it described? Because one of them is kind of a clench fist, like all grasping and proving and never enough and white knuckling it. But the other one, but the other one is an open hand. It's receiving, it's trusting, it's already secure. And here's the wild thing, the same amount of actual work might get done in the day either way. But one leader is running on fumes and fear and about to fall apart, whereas the other one is tired in the good way, the honest way, at peace, sustainable, able to keep doing this for decades instead of flaming out in 18 months. And the difference between the two of them was never how hard they worked, it was what they were working from. Do you want to gently call this out here because I think a lot of us secretly believe it, even if we never admit it. And that's the idea of striving itself is what makes us faithful, and that the exhaustion is the offering. That if it doesn't cost me absolutely everything and leave me completely wrecked, then I must not love God enough or my people enough. And that's not the gospel, okay? That's just choosing to be a martyr and not in the right way of being a martyr. And Jesus actually said the opposite. He said his yoke is easy and his burden is light. And not because the work is small, but because he carries it with us and he carried the part that crushes. So, if the way you're leading right now is crushing you, I want you to really pay attention to that because it might not be a badge of your devotion at all. It might be a sign that you've picked up a yoke that Jesus never actually handed you. And the good news is, here's the good news, my friends. He's standing right there with his hands out. He's ready to take it back the second you are willing to give it to him. All right. Let's talk about how God built rest into the blueprint. I want you to hear that none of this is some modern productivity hack. It's not a work smarter, not harder LinkedIn post. It's stitched right into the very fabric of how God made the world from the very beginning because he worked and then he rested. And it wasn't because he's tired, because God doesn't get tired. He rested in order to set a pattern for us, to show us the rhythm that we were built to live in. And then, because he knows us so well, because he knows that we would forget about it all in about 4 seconds flat, he wrote it into the commandments and he kept on reminding his people over and over again. I mean, goodness gracious, if you have ever read the Bible, especially the first 5 books, the Torah, good Lord, all the time, you're hearing it all the time. Rest, rest, rest. And here's a good one for you. Listen to the way the psalmist just names our anxious overwork because it's stunning how directly he sees us. Now, I'm going to read from Psalm 127, 1 through 2 NLT version. Of course, it's NLT. That's just my favorite version. Unless the Lord builds a house, the work of the builders is wasted. Unless the Lord protects a city, guarding it with sentries will do no good. It's useless for you to work so hard from early morning up until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat, because God gives rest to his loved ones. So, unless the Lord builds the house, unless the Lord builds your business with you, unless the Lord is walking in your leadership with you in any of the leadership teams that you are leading, ministry, marketplace, being an entrepreneur or a solopreneur or a founder, the work of the builders is wasted. And that right there is the entire hustle lie taken apart in a single sentence. Okay. Because you can build and build the early mornings, the late nights, all of the anxious white knuckle toil. But if God is not in it with you, then you are exhausting yourself over something that was never going to hold anyway. And I want you to look closely at this because it really does matter. The psalmist is not anti work, he's anti anxious work. He named that frantic, fearful, it all depends on me kind of work specifically. And what he's telling you is that your striving was never the thing holding it all together in the first place. It was God the whole time, which means you can finally loosen your grip on the thing you've been white knuckling because God has had it all along. And then that last line, and I really do want you to write this one on your heart, okay? Or write it down in your note taking device, whatever. For God gives rest to his loved ones because rest is described right here as a gift. It's something that God gives to the people that he loves. And it's not something you earn by producing enough. It's something you receive simply because you're loved. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to understand and for a lot of people to believe. But believe me here, okay? Take it from your girl over here who has been known as a hardcore hustler since she was like 10 years old. So 35 years? I mean, come on. It's absolutely exhausting until you give it to God. Okay. You don't get to rest because you finally finished. You're never going to finish. It's never going to happen. You get to rest because you're His. Honestly, I feel like that reframes the entire thing because it means that rest was never a reward for being productive. It's a gift to the beloved. And last time I checked, if you belong to Him, then that's you that we're talking about. Okay. And then Jesus, here we go. I love me some quotes from Jesus. I don't know about you, but I love reading the Bible, and especially when I see those red letters in my Bible because that's literally Jesus's words jumping out on the page at me. But so Jesus right here in Mark 2:27 NLT version, he cuts right through all of our religious overwork too, okay? Because the course of the Pharisees had gone wrong and even turned rest into a one more rule to perform, one more box to check, one more way to fail. And Jesus looked straight up and down at them and said this, okay? Are you ready for it? Again, this is Mark 2:27 NLT. The Sabbath was made to meet the needs of the people, not people to meet the requirements of the Sabbath. Guys, rest was made for you. It's a gift for your good from a God who loves you and who knows exactly how he built you. And it was never ever meant to become one more thing you're bad at or one more thing you have to perform at. So if you've been hearing this whole episode as just one more command, like, great, wonderful. Now I have to go and get better at resting too. Come on, Jules. Thanks for adding more to my pile. I really, really encourage you to let Jesus correct that for you right now because rest isn't another demand being placed on you. It's God's kindness being offered towards you. It's God saying, I made you needing this on purpose, and I'm so glad to give it to you. So, would you please just receive it instead of trying to earn it? Okay, so let's get practical, right? Let's just get practical because I promised And if you've ever listened to any of my other podcasts, I will never leave you inspired and feeling guilty. And I mean it. I will never give you ideas and talk to you about these types of things and then not give you an action plan because I think that's just mean. And clarity is kind, right? So here are four doable ways to actually start shifting out of the hustle and into leading from rest. And none of these require a whole new life. They're small, they're real, and you can start them as soon as tomorrow if you want. Okay, so the first is to build rest in before you actually need it. Because if you wait until you're already too burned out to rest, then it's not really rest anymore. It's just damage control, it's triaging it. And what you want instead is to build regular protected rest into your week and into your day on purpose while things are still fine. Maybe we're talking about an evening that you are not on social media, you're not on your phone, you've turned your phone off, even if you have the ability to do that. Turn your phone off, go take a bath, go out to dinner with your spouse or your significant other or your kids, right? Just maybe watch a movie together. Get some actual rest. I'm not talking about sleeping rest, although let me tell you, naps, they really hit hard. But I'm talking about putting some actual margin in your calendar that you can defend like it's a meeting with someone really important. Because at the end of the day, it really is. You're in a standing meeting with your own sustainability. Okay. Rest that you schedule and protect is a discipline of trust. But the rest that only ever happens when you finally collapse, that's not rest, it's just collapsing. So put this in first on purpose before the tank hits empty. Seriously, schedule some time. Schedule some time. Ever since I have been laid off from working in the corporate America in the tech industry, I have been taking my actual Saturdays off. I do not even open my laptop. I might do some things around the house, but that's not like work, right? That's just housework. And I actually really enjoy doing that stuff. But I'm telling you, I do not check my emails. I do not do anything that is work related. And as a entrepreneur and a small business owner, and I mean, obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you know I'm a podcast host too. My brain is constantly moving, right? It is constantly like, what are we doing next? How are we going to grow? What content am I creating? But I'm telling you, I've done this for it'll be a month now. Crazy. It'll be a month now since I've been laid off. And I prayed a lot about it. And God was like, Julie, I really need you to take one day of Sabbath. I just need you to take one day, Jules. You work so hard at building this new business, doing the podcast. I'm also a worship pastor, right? And so my Fridays and Sundays are very full. I also do some freelancing stuff on the side because your girl's got to make some money. So, I am still working, but I'm just not working my corporate job anymore. So here's the thing. I actually blocked out my Saturdays and I will sleep in till 9 or 10 in the morning. And my husband, he's just so wonderful and glorious. He lets me sleep in. He gets up early at 4 a.m. because he's a milkman. So he's actually already at work and it's 10 o'clock at night. So he works the graveyard shift, right? So he likes to try to keep his schedule. I just need the rest. And I'm telling you, I have been operating from such a place of rest and comfortability. My stress levels, my cortisol levels, they are nowhere near as high as they were just 6 weeks ago. So there's a little story for you. Let's go into the second one. The second one is to practice stopping while things are still unfinished. And I will be honest with you, this one is hard, okay? Especially as a type A personality. If you have a type A personality, stopping while things are unfinished, oh dear God. But I promise you this, it's holy. Because what I'm asking you to do is end your workday with things still undone on purpose and go rest anyway. And the reason is simple. Guys, it's never going to be finished. There is no version of your role in whatever position you hold where you get to the bottom of everything So if your rule for yourself is I'll rest when it's done, you've quietly made a rule that you can literally never keep. And you've basically sentenced yourself to never resting at all. So, learning to close the laptop while things are still on the list, obviously not the very important ones. We do need to make sure we prioritize our lists and hand those things to God overnight. I'm telling you, it is one of the most faith filled things a leader can practice. Because if you look at it this way, it's a tiny little sermon you preach to your own anxious heart every single evening. And it's this is what you're preaching to yourself. It does not all depend on me. Good night. Very simple there. Okay. Now let's dive into the third one. The third one is to do an honest gut check on your motive. So when you catch yourself really grinding, I want you to pause for just a second and ask yourself, why am I actually pushing this hard right now? And sometimes the answer is going to be genuinely great. Okay. It's real, temporary. It's this season truly calls for this kind of push. And guys, that's fine. That's totally fine. But a lot of the time, if we're brave enough to actually really peel back the layers and look, the honest answer underneath all of it, it's fear. Fear that if I stop, this is all going to fall apart. Fear that I'm only as valuable as I am productive. Fear of what people will think of me if I'm not always visibly on. And you guys, you have to name that fear because you cannot hand God a fear that you won't even admit you're carrying. And then once you've named the fear, though, you get to preach the truth right back at it that it does not all depend on me and my worth is not my output. And God gives rest to his loved ones, and I am one of them. And here is the fourth one: let your rest preach to your team. Because whether you mean to or not, you're always teaching the people around you something about rest. So you might as well teach them the right thing on purpose. Take the vacation and then actually unplon it. Like, don't even bring your laptop. Don't do the I'll check my email once I'm by the pool or I check my email in the mornings and at night. Actually, unplug it. You guys can plan stuff before you leave, but you also need to trust them. Don't send them midnight email. And if that's genuinely when your brain works, then schedule it to go out the next morning so you're not modeling this always on to every single person who reports to you. And that, by the way, is a little trick that I used to do when I would go on vacations. When I would go on vacations at my last two jobs as a leader in the tech industry, if I was on a true vacation, I would schedule all of my emails in advance, like before I even left. And I would have it set to deliver to their inboxes at like 7 o'clock in the morning. Right. I would do that. I mean, goodness, even when I wasn't on vacation, I would do that. I would work a little bit on Sundays. Sunday evenings were where I would do all my reporting for the weekend and for the previous week. And then I would literally send the emails for 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. for the next morning. So it looks like I wasn't working all day on Sunday on my day off. I challenge you to talk out loud about protecting your rest so your employees know that it's allowed, right? Encourage them to take the PTO. Encourage them. Say, take the PTO for goodness sake. Unplug. I don't want to hear from you unless there's an absolute fire. Be that leader, okay? Because when the leader rests well, the leader hands their whole team the permission to be human too. And then the leader ends up building up people who can actually go the distance instead of people who flame out and quit within a year. And I promise you this: your rest is not selfish. It's one of the most generous and protective things you will ever model for the people you lead. Okay, so I'm going to pause for just a quick second. I know this fun music is kicked in. So, this is the whole arc, okay? The calling, the confidence, and now the rest. This all lands in the very same place, and it happens to be the place that my course was built for, my friends, because leading from rest instead of hustle is really only possible when your worth is settled in Christ instead of your productivity. And that settling is the entire work of the Leadership Clearly Foundations course. It's a 5-day course built around the Leadership Clearly method, and it clears out your internal noise, the striving and the proving, and the it all depends on me panic, so you can actually lead from a secure, unhurried, God-given foundation instead of scrambling around to earn one every single morning. And if this series has stirred something up in you, that's exactly where you want to go do the deeper work instead of just putting it down. The link is in the show notes. You can also go to juliewagner.co or leadershipclearly.com. Okay, now let's land this plane, my friends. Here is your one thing for the week, just one, because clarity means less done deeply. This week, I want you to do one single act of leading from rest. Just one. So take the real day off and don't apologize for it to anybody. Or close the laptop with things still unfinished and go be fully present with the people you love while you hand the rest to God overnight. Or here's a good one. Take the vacation and actually genuinely unplug on it. Just pick one though. I understand you probably can't just take a vacation tomorrow. But you can plan it. But just pick one, okay? One small concrete way to lead as though it doesn't depend only on you. Because guess what? It doesn't. And then here's another challenge for you, actually. I want you to pay attention what that stirs up in you. Because the very thought of stopping feels scary. And that fear is actually a flashlight. And it's showing you exactly where you'd been quietly trusting your own hustle instead of trusting God. And now that you can see it, you get to hand it over to Him. So while you're doing this too, would you just receive the gift? Because God gives rest to His loved ones, not the ones who earned it, not to the ones who hustled hard enough to finally deserve it, but to the ones He loves. And that is you, my friend. Full stop. Okay? That's you. Now, I want to give you the truth that ties this whole 3-part series arc together. And I want you to really carry it out the door with you, okay? I want you to put it in your back pocket. You, my friend, are called. We settled that one together. We've already talked about this. You can lead with confidence even while you doubt. We've settled that one too, okay? That was the last episode. And now here's the last one, so hear it. You were never meant to carry the calling all alone, and you were never meant to burn yourself to the ground proving that you deserve it. Because the same one who called you is the same one who sustains you, which means you actually get to work hard, rest deeply, and trust fully all at the very same time. Since the house was never really yours to build in your own strength anyway, it was His all along. So, my friends, lead from that. Take heart in that. Lead from the rest. And that is our 3-part arc. And honestly, that's just the heart of about everything I believe in leadership. You are called, you are equipped, and you are held. Now go and lead like the leader who actually knows it. Keep leading clearly, because clarity, my friends, is an act of love. Now, next week, you don't want to miss this. It's my very first interview that I'm doing on this podcast. Her name is Hannah. She is an author. She is a mom. She is a teacher. She is absolutely incredible. And I am so excited to share our podcast together with you all. One quick sec before you go. If this episode helped you, the most valuable thing you can do is leave a review. It's how new leaders find this show. On Apple Podcasts, open up the Leadership Clearly show page, scroll down past the episode list to ratings and reviews. Tap the stars to rate and then write a review to leave a few words. It takes about 30 seconds and it genuinely helps. And I'd love to stay connected outside of this podcast. Come and find me on Instagram at Julie Thomas Wagner, all one word, or on TikTok at Leadership Clearly, all one word. Send me a message and tell me what landed with you today. I read them and I actually respond. My friends, clarity is an act of love. I will see you next week.